So, yeah. Outside. You're outside.
Still looks
just.
Oh, I think I can hear you now.
Okay, good. We can hear you fine. So it's coming through clearly, is it?
Yes, it is now. Just now.
Because otherwise, the recording won't work either. I don't think if you don't have that. So I think what you were saying, Reid. I think that means the memo.
Okay, so we just need the
memos. Yeah.
Okay.
okay. I like how you do the numbers on these. It makes it so much easier.
Not that it affects the minutes, but I guess the Longview Forestry in 4.4 we agreed would be the appointed consultant. Was that the logger that fell through? Ethan said the logger fell through?
Yeah, it was. So just by way of update, so Ethan, they did fall through. They didn't have enough staff. Ethan emailed me yesterday just to say he's got a couple of other people lined up who we're planning on May the 11th to we can talk about the two options then.
Yeah.
We can discuss them. Basically, they both seem pretty good. They've got pros and cons of each. I haven't really done a lot of digging into them. Anything will come along to answer any questions. So we can talk about that then.
So we're just doing the minutes, Danielle.
Great.
Okay.
So everybody had time to read through the minutes? Is there someone make a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the very minor amendment that I mentioned.
I'll second it.
Okay, and any further discussion on the minutes? Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And any abstaining? Okay, so the minutes of February 9th have been approved as amended.
So do we just want to, I know Mike's been introduced to most people, but just now that everyone's here. So we've got, as you know, Jeff Fairs stepped down from the select board, which means he also stepped down from the Catamount Community Forest Committee. So Mike is newly appointed to the select board. He won his election in March. And he has volunteered to be the select board representative for the Catamount Forest Committee. So just to welcome him to the new, as a new member here.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Welcome. Should be a good addition to, it's great to have a full, full board, group, so.
I love the woods. I always know there's a lot to learn. The more you learn, the more you recognize that there's more that you don't know.
Yeah, so we'll have to, like I said, hopefully next meeting, we can have it right over at the Catamount, if it's good weather.
Let's hope so.
Good. Okay.
Did everybody,
Oh, I'm
you all
sorry.
introduce yourselves?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Danielle
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
did.
from
Yeah.
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec. We talked about, I'm sorry, we talked earlier, and then John is the director of Catamount. So you see him over there.
Hello, sorry, I was on mute there for a sec.
Okay.
And did you get, I mean, I assume, you obviously are in the town and you know all the comings and goings, and maybe you're like really in tune with what's going on at Catamount, but was there any coming into this, maybe Simon prepped you, is there anything that you had questions of us initially coming in, or initial thoughts of what you hope to add? Any thoughts at all?
I don't know much about it. It's kind of a new experience for me. I mountain biked there probably 30 years ago.
Yeah.
That's the only time I've ever been there.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm always so busy on the farm. I don't have time to get off the farm that much.
Yeah.
But I love working in the woods. I love being in the woods.
Yeah, well, if you want, like, apart from this meeting, like, get together for coffee or something for context, I mean, I'd be willing, or other members too. Any context that you want that you feel would be helpful for your role here on the committee. Yeah, we just spend some time with you, bringing you up to speed.
Thanks. I'd like to sometime, meet, maybe get a trail map of Catamount and go there. My wife likes to walk, and some morning we'd love to, in the next week, go to Catamount and just walk the trails.
Well,
Yeah, there's
Saturday's opening day,
Yeah.
and then I think they're
Oh,
open
right,
for
yeah.
walking already on some of the trails, right?
Sandmans, and so kind of this part of the area is dry enough, so. And I guess we just have to be careful with too many members getting together with open
Oh, yeah.
meeting laws. So,
Can't
yeah,
talk.
Can't, right.
I'm
can't have
not,
too-
I'm not part of the committee, but I'm happy to help lead and introduce you to the place again.
Thank you, John. I'll have to set something up. My wife and I would love to come down some morning and just walk around.
We're happy to host
See,
and take you on a tour.
my wife's a big birder. She's always got binoculars on, walking through our woods.
There's
and
another
meadows.
person to join.
Right, I know, so we have a couple of birding events happening, and Outdoor Center is gonna, with the North Branch Nature Center, are gonna do a birding event, so, yeah. So I think she'd really like it over there.
Yeah, I've got a lot to learn, so please include me in everything, and
They have a great website and a Facebook page, so that might be something to connect with. And the Catamount Community Forest actually also has a Facebook page. And I always share, now I can share the newsletter with that Facebook page, so. Yeah, so it kind of keeps you up to date with, they're very busy over there.
And I mean, the whole basics of, you understand the whole basics, like this, we're in charge of the property. And the Outdoor Family Center is a nonprofit with a lease agreement that runs operations there.
Right, the
They're
trails.
about like, I mean, I don't know the counts are insane, right? But like 10 weeks of camps with 4 camps running parallel all summer long, running camps, adventure camps. So I mean, you'll see all that on the website, but just the basics of like this nice relationship we have with the Outdoor Family Center. And full disclaimer, I'm the president of the board of the Outdoor Family
Oh,
Center,
the
and I'm
president,
also
oh,
on
boy.
this committee. So whenever there's anything that's vaguely, conflict of interest, I don't think there has really been much of anything. I voiced that, so I have one foot in each canoe.
Right.
Yeah,
So we just gotta be careful not to rock it.
Yeah, right.
but we rowed together.
Right,
Two
right.
canoes, we
There you
just
go.
rowed
We'll
together.
put you on the big pond and watch
We
you
have a
go.
kayak paddle for the 2 canoes.
Looks like there's a pond on the Catamount Forest.
Yeah.
There's 3 actually.
Yeah.
So actually, that's a good segue into the next good item on the agenda,
Yeah.
which is, I'm gonna let Reed take over about the mallard
Okay.
tubes.
Does that link work?
I've got your images saved.
Okay. So what happened was, last year, actually started the year before that, we put up duck nesting boxes for wood ducks. And my brother-in-law was doing some research. He's the one who instigated the wood duck boxes, said, hey, that big pond could have mallards, which we've seen out there, and mallards are subject to predators when they nest on the ground. So a strange looking contraption, which is now in the middle of the big pond, is a mallard nesting tube. And it's, we went out there when the ice was still thick enough and put the pole down into the solid soil at the bottom. And Bill had pre-made this tube and we mounted it and now hope to attract a pair of mallards. And I sent them to you too late, so if you've downloaded these, you won't have the ones I got from a group in Minnesota, I think, and there's some in Canada who have been experimenting with this, and they have pictures of the ducks actually in the
In the
tubes.
tube.
So they do work. So this was my brother-in-law, so we were standing on the ice. It's a good thing we did it that day because the next week the ice fell apart, so that was our last.
Good time.
It's a pretty big beast of an item, but when you stand back, you hardly even notice it's there.
Right.
We stood at Jim McCullough's, we were talking with him and we pointed it out and he was pretty excited, but it doesn't really, it doesn't look like this. It doesn't really stick out very well,
I was there yesterday and there was a mallard in the pond.
Oh, good, good. Did you yell, use that nest tube?
Yeah, that's right. Look.
So it's another part of birding over there and see what we can do. And all the materials were donated by my brother-in-law, so there's no cost
Very
to us.
Generous.
He's
Thank you
very much
very
into
much.
conservation, so he's,
Excellent.
so there's no cost to us. We're not planning on putting any other stuff. This is just one to experiment.
Good to experiment with.
Yeah.
And so Reed is also with his brother-in-law put up, how many wood duck boxes?
3 at Catamount and 2 at Mud Pond, which, and we're waiting for the wood ducks to come in, or mergansers, or anything that'll go in those darn boxes.
Right,
We'll be
whoever,
happy.
yeah. What Carl always tells the story that one year a kestrel
Yes,
nested
yeah.
in a wood duck box.
Yeah,
But it was only 1 year, so.
yeah, so
We've
we'll,
seen-
we'll take a kestrel. We actually put a game camera on one of the wood boxes last weekend. So, and we're waiting to see what kind of activity we have with that.
Right. Well, thank you for doing that, and thank you, brother-in-law.
I keep thinking I should have asked permission before we put it out there in the pond, but we did it anyways.
Yeah, it's a, yeah.
Yeah.
Another good. So I'll stay right with you about the educational side.
Yes, go
Can I
ahead.
just make one quick
I'm sorry.
point? I do think communication is always helpful in everything.
Yeah,
So, I think like communicating with the Outdoor Family Center, we're gonna install this, is it okay? They'll probably say yes.
Yes.
But I do think, storing materials in the barn or installing signs or installing wood boxes or
Yeah.
installing
Mhm.
anything. Like, I don't know, I don't know what the lease agreement says.
I think it's more trails. You're responsible for trails, not the actual property itself. Is that true?
But
And it's
that's not
the-
really where I'm going with this. I
Okay.
started just by saying communication is.
Yeah,
often
and for
helpful,
the
right?
wood
So
duck
I don't-
boxes and everything, we.
Again, I didn't know if the
did-
lease agreement says anything about like who's allowed to do what,
Yeah.
but even before we go there,
Hmm,
I'm not going there. I'm just talking
Yeah,
about
right,
communication.
Right,
Right.
right.
yeah.
So I think like communication would go a long way before just doing something from members on this committee, whether it's planning events, storing materials, installing signs, installing things. Like, I think we need as a committee to be in the habit of communicating that to the Alphabet
Right.
Family Center
Sure.
and to keep those two.
that would be appreciated if we could. Not everything can come through me, because it means everything is just get jammed up.
And I just try to CC you, like, I've stored a
Yeah.
couple of bluebird boxes there just for like a week.
So,
Yeah.
And so I CC'd Simon and I sent it to Amanda and John. So John, hopefully you got that email.
Yeah,
sent it-
I think what we might hope though is that you asked whether we had space for you and we would say yes.
Yeah, and then,
Yeah.
so they won't be there too long, like a week.
and just,
And if you think back like years ago when we were doing the wood duck boxes, we did have a formal communication about that whole process and
Yeah.
putting the signs up and designing the signs and all of that, so.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
helped put the signs up. So I
Yeah,
was-
right,
Right.
right, the ones in
Right,
the woods,
ones
yes,
you can, yeah,
yes.
right.
We walked
Yeah.
around and having things.
Yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
sounds
Good.
good, so.
Okay, thanks.
So. Perfect.
So the educational signs are, so that's the next topic we have on the agenda. And right now, Ethan has a lot of signage out there for this logging project that's gonna happen, this forest management that's gonna happen in August, September. So he has a lot out there. We have the wood duck boxes.
Have signs,
Signs.
there's 3 signs, I think, yeah.
And we kept them in the same format as Ethan's
Mhm.
signage to kind of keep a continuity with all the other signage.
Right.
And you're working on a bobblehead sign?
So, yeah, so the last meeting we had, I'd actually presented a couple of more versions of the one for bottleneck nesting, which was this one, and then the one below it, it was the one that was actually preferred, because I would only do one. Yeah, this one,
Okay.
because it had the folks in it.
Right.
And we still have not gone through the language on here. I noticed the fonts are all off. If we do these and share them, people need to proofread it and say, yeah, that's what I really want the sign to do, because they're $90 a piece. We don't want to print them with the wrong thing. on
Wrong
it, yeah.
information on them.
Yeah, or just not the way we wanted to say,
And I thought I would share this with Carl and Bruce,
yeah.
because they've really been
Yeah.
the spearhead of this whole.
And whenever I do these, because I don't know the details behind the birding, I usually go to Cornell School for ornithology, or I go to Audubon, or I go to some other sites that have accurate information, and I lift their language. So,
Yes, yeah.
so that's where a lot of this comes from. The next one, which I built this week. Jump down, please. So you had mentioned vernal pools.
Yes.
Again, I just put this together. The pictures are not from Catamount. I'd advise before we print it to go take some pictures and actually use these.
This is.
This was from a couple of sites. I think these pictures are both from Massachusetts. And this was just as a mock-up.
Okay,
Though I'm using the same size as information, you may want a different, I would use different pictures, use authentic pictures. But you need to look at the wording. So if we can, send out links to these so people can read through them and scratch through them and say, no, I don't like this. So some of this came from the EPA, some of it came from Vermont Fish and Wildlife, some of it came from another website, so again, they're authoritative groups.
Mhm.
And but the language, is whatever you want it to say,
Okay, yeah, good, that looks great, and
and so, and then the next one, please. You had mentioned Nest Watch.
Yes.
So, the photos are all actually my wife's and mine, so those are
Oh,
authentic,
good.
yes,
You were-
yes.
yeah, you were doing-
So those are all ones that we took.
From Williston?
They, I know the two on the left and the two in the center are from Catamount. And I'm not sure if, my wife used to do Nest Watch in South Carolina when we spent the winters there. Those may have actually been South Carolina bluebirds, so, but they're all, they're real pictures of eggs and, the small birds. So, those are my pictures and you're welcome to use them. Again, I kind of scripted this, some of it I picked off of, what is Nest Watch? I looked that up on
Right.
ornithology, and then the rest was just, this I knew more about because my wife and I have been doing bird boxes for decades, so
you were pretty
so this
well
one,
versed.
this one may be okay. Again, I recommend everybody read through this really, really carefully before we go out and put out bids for ordering on this, and decide what we want to put out. The other thing is that's the last one I mocked up. You had mentioned field birds, field nesting birds too, and I had not
Grass.
started that grass
Okay.
yet. I
Grass
haven't
and
started
birds.
that one yet. I'll need your input on that one. I
Okay.
know very little about that. Last meeting, somebody had brought up that would it be possible to do, instead of so many signs, do bigger signs with lots of information on it. So I walked around, I was walking at Wilson Central School on the back side of the track the other day, and they have a big one dealing with Allenbrook. And it's about this big, it's really big, and it's on a 45-degree angle with a metal frame, and it's cemented in. It's a pretty rugged piece, and if we go that route, it's a totally different piece than what these are, which are 19 by 11, and I drilled 2 holes and put them onto fence posts, so. If we want to go down that route and take the information and consolidate it so we don't have so many signs, then we need to think about how do we do that. Sure, printing companies can make signs as big as we want, but
Right.
it's a matter then of how do you frame them out and that kind of stuff. And I have no idea what the costs for that. Big
Right.
fence posts are $10, and
Pretty easy.
and I'm certainly willing to work on that kind of stuff. So it's something to think about, that, you
Yeah,
might
and I
want to
think-
put something on the edge of the field that has 3 or 4 subjects, or maybe 2 or 3 subjects on it, not necessarily individual subjects,
Like the vernal pool sort of has to be there because there's only one vernal pool. And
Oh,
really, it's just over there on
It
Sandman.
kind of fits in with the ones Ethan did, so
Right.
actually I would probably change the coloring back to the woodland,
Oh,
the
okay.
background woodland side, but the others are all variations on birds,
Right, and then some of the other ideas I was thinking about, just education for the public was the invasives, to have a sign about invasives, so that, they're everywhere. So we really don't need to have a specific site, like compared to a vernal pool where
Right.
it's really just there and.
But I just
some of the other.
open it up that, I can work on design, that's really what the
Yeah,
group
okay.
wants to do, both, not just this committee, but also the Outdoor Family Center. What kind of signs do we want? Because we could be putting up a whole bunch more, and that's fine if we're educating people,
To have that, so, yeah,
Personally, I like multiple signs, because like the vernal pool, it identifies what you're looking at that time.
Right.
It's hard to remember and identify it later on when you see something.
if it's at the outdoor center has a barn or a rental shed,
Yeah.
and we have signage there.
Mhm.
And people usually are, bought to that section, to check in and things. And there's a lot of signage there, but you're right, you see it and you're like, oh,
It's overwhelming.
yeah, right.
It's a map and rules and whatever.
So there's
Um,
wood
yeah.
duck sign.
So
there.
I think the suggestion last time was maybe that there might be some co-location with the outdoor family centre, because they were thinking about updating their signs. What I quite like about these signs from purely practical point of view is we're just hammering them into the ground, we're not excavating anything. which
They're
is a lot
simple to
less
put up.
disruptive.
Right.
Yeah,
No permits.
All right.
Yeah, true.
all I did was bring a hammer and
Yeah.
drive the post in and then screw it
Yeah.
onto it, yeah.
And then if the vernal pool disappears, you can just take the sign up
Right.
because.
Well, they do, they
sometimes,
dry out in the summer, but it's okay, it's
yeah.
dry now. you know, so.
It'll come back, but true, yeah, they are.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess, is there like a limit to the number of signs we want to have at Catamount?
That's a good question. yeah.
I just had
Because, I
some
mean,
ideas, was the
yeah.
vernal pool, grassland birds, the bobolinks and nest, you know, it's not gonna go on forever. It's really, there's only so many things at Catamount that are, I guess you could get into geology and then, you know, the history. That was something we talked about, I
Yeah.
think, at some point.
It would be nice, I mean, as they increase to have a system, like, I think of going to a museum, it's like, download the audio book tour, go to sign number 1, and like. In some nature centers, you kind of have that sense of like, follow this path and you visit all of these things.
Mhm.
And that, you know, if you have a bigger sign and if it was at the parking lot, it would kind of, you know, introduce you to that, so you could
Yeah.
kind of go and find, because right now they're just scattered around.
Well, they are.
And it's nice that you run into them if you're out there, but like, if it could be turned in, because I mean, our goal is that people go to the property, appreciate it, enjoy it, get education. I mean, I think everybody's goal is that, but, yeah, like maybe some way to pull it together.
Yeah.
And there is, I know for the Outdoor Family Center, like, still concerns about, there's a lot of trails and you can get lost out there, so like a better wayfinding system, so like, at some point, like a comprehensive trail, or like a comprehensive trail or a signage plan could include, you know, kind of the scenic tour. I don't know, the scenic tour, like the, you know,
Educational.
tour of all the signs that have been put up on the property, for lack of better,
Yeah,
better way to
and I
describe it.
think
Because
I'm,
didn't that place out in
oh, yeah,
Jeffersonville or somewhere out there that has that type of thing? Don't they have a lot of signage out
they
in
have a
there?
lot of really nice signage. They got a huge grant. It's out in Cambridge. It's Cambridge Town Forest, like Peter Crush.
Yeah.
Like, reserve, and the signage was beautiful, it was cemented in, really nice job on the signage, and they were at a tilt.
Yeah.
The one disadvantage was we went after kind of an ice storm, ice event, so every single sign was covered with snow.
Oh, no.
So we were, you know, banging on the sign. But yeah, so that's, that was very nice.
I mean, maybe, do you want to, like, maybe we should put this down in writing, like, identify where the signs are that we put up, and the ones we want to do, and maybe just come up with a list of, and that, at least that way we know where they were.
Yeah. We shouldn't have,
yeah.
because, I mean, if I were to walk on the trails to find Ethan's original signs, I would just run into by chance, because I don't know where they exactly are, you know. I know I was with you that day, we put them all up, you know.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm not sure what Ethan's plans are, but I don't think those signs are, not all of them. All those signs are not meant to be permanent. Those are just for this operation. He wants to educate the public. He didn't want any, you know, people being surprised. So he wanted to explain. So, you know, over time, when that job is done, I think those signs are gonna come out.
Oh, really?
Not all of them, but like the
Aw.
blue paint, like the blue paint's gonna be gone. Yeah, so he's. they're gonna do-
Yeah, but there's one
Yeah.
about the big ash tree that's there, and then there's
Right,
one about
those will stay.
that messy is nice
Yeah.
because about the fallen.
Yeah, we have to leave that one.
Yeah, so those
for
are
5 more
really-
years till it's
So
not-
Yeah,
that's
more
right,
or
so
less,
I guess the
yeah.
blue paint one was the only one that I
Yeah,
thought, you know,
yeah,
let's,
yeah.
you know, what's
Maybe,
that on
right,
that
right.
paint for?
Right, and again, at the cost. You don't wanna make them too temporary, otherwise
Right.
you might as well just hand paint some of
Sure.
them, you
Yeah.
know.
And they'll, you know, he's got in 2025, there's gonna be another, you know, forest management, so those signs can be, you know, used in that area, so they can be movable, we don't have to reprint all those signs again. we could just, but I don't know. I haven't talked to Ethan, so.
Maybe there should be a standard on the permanent signs too, a standard for the temporary signs.
Hmm,
So we know that they're permanent or temporary. and
temporary, yeah.
Maybe the permanent signs can all have QR codes on them. Anyone who wants more information, they can use their smartphone and download information and know where they are on the map.
And Ethan's got a lot of QR codes, right? Most of his signs had QR.
His
codes,
are,
so-
none of the ones I did have.
Right.
Yeah, for a QR code, you have to make sure that you can maintain that website for
Yes.
the next 10 years,
Yeah.
so the link will still work.
Right.
So it's not a problem, it's just something to consider.
Yeah, we consider that for the farm, it's just more work.
Yeah.
You can't keep up with.
True. Okay, great. So I don't envision there's gonna be a massive signs at Catamount. I think there were just some topics that, I thought would, be a good idea to highlight,
Mhm. And that's why, I'm using Canva, which is free software. That's the same one Ethan,
Okay,
he taught me how to use it. And so the mock-up is, I just take one and I copy it and I change things around on it, and you can make them as large or small as you want and then print them out so that they're in a format that a printer can use. And so,
okay. Great, and I'm gonna see, especially the bobolink sign and probably.
so I don't want to proceed with any estimating yet until we really nail down the pictures, the design, the whole
Yeah.
thing.
So you're setting that out? Is it? at the point where you're sending
Yeah, I
it
send,
for us to
I can,
edit?
yeah,
The bobbling
we'll
one.
figure out a way to send it out.
yes, it's probably the best thing to do a link.
Yeah.
To them rather than, because they're big, they're pretty big, the files are big, yeah.
Is there any advantage to ordering more than one sign, or is it just easy enough?
Well,
to
we
just do
ordered,
one
when we
sign?
did the duck pond, because we were doing both mud pond and here, we did 6. I don't know that it made really a difference in,
So if we
in the
just-
price, but I think if you order one, the price is gonna go up. Maybe if you got to 15, you might get a break, but I don't know how many we're thinking of doing. But they were around $90 a piece when we did 6 last year, and they were unique. I'm sure if you had identical ones over and over, they would be less.
Okay. But that's my personal feeling is I don't think we're gonna, really put 50 signs up at Catamount. I think it's gonna be.
Yeah, at some point, all of us would be like, whoa, there's a lot of signs.
Yeah, right, it'll be
That was too many.
overwhelming.
Oh, we're violating the billboard law.
Yeah, that's right. Like the logging, that's what I said, there's a lot, because there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of things that people need to know about. So.
Yeah, I like the signs. I like
Yeah,
them.
no, good.
I enjoy them.
Okay, so if we figure out, so that was that 3 signs, Reed? I think.
Yeah, so there's a bottling sign right now, there's a nest watch sign, and there is a vernal pool sign, and those are the 3 I've drafted.
Yeah.
And if you wanted a field nesting bird sign in
That'd be
addition to
great.
bottling,
Yeah, that I think.
otherwise
bottling sign.
we can do that, or we can combine those with the bottling one, I don't know, it's really whatever the group wants to do, because I just sit in front of my computer and try to put things together. So.
Do Danielle or do other folks have ideas about, informational signage that would be beneficial at Catamount?
I think that instead of doing another nesting bird sign, maybe history or geology would be more.
Yeah.
Broad, diverse
Mhm.
for non-birders.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so maybe
But-
like Laura Meyer is, would be a good one to tap into because she's on the Master Naturalist. She knows a lot about geology of Catamount. She's actually led tours there, but that is, yeah, I didn't mean to get so heavy on the birds.
I know when Ethan showed us a lot about the geology where there's a demarcation where the inland lake actually stopped and you can see the rocks. And so that kind of information is something you wouldn't know otherwise, and so there is a lot of information that would be cool for people to read that.
Yeah, that's a great, I was just throwing out ideas, but that's a great,
Yeah, it's at the top of Goose Hill, right where the clump of woods is there. I don't know, we named some little piece of trail called the beach. Like that's where the sand beach was, where the
Yes,
water used to
and
come
then
all the
there's
way
a
up.
cliff that rises in front at the back of that, and that's where it stopped.
Yeah.
oh, this is, Goose Hill is like right here.
Fascinating.
Oh, there, right, that apple tree right there.
Okay.
So, yeah, so any more, so we'll focus on these 3 signs for now. I mean, we can, can chat unless you want to do the geology one. No, okay, so
The idea is
the
here.
idea, so I think Laura,
I don't mind doing them if people give me the idea.
right,
You know,
and she might
These
have.
bird ones, again, I was just lifting language.
Between-
If you don't like the language, we can change it. It's just text, you know, so it's whatever you want.
Okay,
Yeah. And the same with the pictures. I would definitely opt for local photographs, you know, if you can, especially if somebody else has better modeling pictures than mine.
I think that those are probably from Cornell. We have never,
Yeah, because my bobolink ones did not come out well last year, so.
I've never successfully got a good bobbling picture over at Catamount. They just, they
I've
flip and
never
fly
even seen
around.
that.
Yeah,
One quick thing, I remembered from the license agreement, there's something about a master sign plan, so if I can just read this for a minute.
Mhm.
Licensee will have the right to place further informational or directional signs on the property as detailed in the annual plan and or a master sign plan, provided that all signs shall comply with all applicable state laws, state and local laws, regulations and ordinances pertaining to the location and size of such signs and the conservation easement. So I guess these signs wouldn't be part of the outdoor family center sign plan, or do we need like a combined sign plan? Because you just asked for an inventory of them.
I think what would be helpful is if we had an idea of where all these signs are and how many more we're going to put up, and we can start putting that together into a simpler document as possible. Just a map with where the signs are, and I don't want to get into. I think like the hub and the barn, I think of as like almost, I don't want to say the word billboard, but a place where the signs will
like a kiosk.
sort of rotate. So these signs you're talking about, although they're not permanent, they're more permanent. They're not gonna go away. So that's like how I view these. Those are structures where it's communicating information and it's gonna rotate. There's gonna be some like the trail map that are gonna be there. And then we'll have this inventory as well. Maybe we can think about, you know, the geology sign and maybe a few recreation signs and.
And as long
Right.
as you're telling us like what plans to put what into, so
Yeah.
the family center knows what. I don't know what's in the new license agreement that talks about like a master trail plan or a master sign plan. It actually says master sign plan, you know, what that includes and doesn't.
We can talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I like your practice step, let's just inventory what we've got.
I think that'd be good. And do you, so what do you want to do with these 3 signs at the moment?
Yeah.
Is
I
that
think
like something we want to hold off on until we've done some
I
inventory?
mean, I need to say to you, you need to look at them and say, are they even remotely what you want?
Right.
You know, they're just using this software and building out a sign,
Mhm.
so they're just a draft. They are not print ready.
Okay,
Borders aren't straight, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed, you know, so.
So next month, we need to have read these 3
Yeah.
signs,
Yeah.
and you need to have done an inventory map.
Oh, I know where the other ones
oh,
are.
yeah, the other ones,
Alright.
are right, there's
Yeah.
No.
not many.
I mean, I'd love for us to, I mean, we're not oversigned yet, I don't
No,
think, but
no,
like, you put the work into these, and I really appreciate
And then I probably.
your effort on them.
Great.
Figure out where
Yeah, that's
Ethan's
a good
4
idea.
or
I
5
mean-
or 6 signs are. He had a lot of, we put
No,
up a
there's
lot of
more
signs
than-
that day.
there's more
There was
than
probably
that.
9 signs we put up. that
Yeah,
day.
Yeah.
they're easy to find right around the gravel.
So do you need like for location on a map, do you want like a GPS coordinate?
I
Or
think
just-
if we can start with maybe just annotating them on one of the many maps we have at Catamount.
Yeah.
Sure.
Probably,
Yeah.
I guess in the trail map might be easiest, because I don't know if we have, I don't think the survey shows the trails.
Okay,
So that might be the simplest way of doing it.
is that something you would be interested in doing, or do you want somebody else to do the, you know,
Well, I know where mine are. 'cause I
Yeah,
put 'em
yeah, right,
up,
right,
so,
and I can,
but.
I can go out there and find Ethan's and get an
Yeah.
idea and just say, this
In
is,
fact, one of the duck ones was put, because the box was out in near the pond, but then we moved the box. So now the sign is sitting by itself.
Oh, right.
So,
Yeah.
You want to move that one, they want to pull the pole up and move it. So,
yeah. So, okay, good. So so you can do yours. I'll
Yeah.
work on Ethan's and have that for next month, and we'll all look at the signs that you drafted up so far. We can give comment.
Yes,
Is that
please.
possible to give comment?
I don't want to go further until I hear
Yeah.
more back from.
Yeah.
Can we do that through
Yeah.
email, or is that, or,
We can, we're not allowed to do that anymore, so we
Right.
have to do it individually.
okay,
So-
just to you, so we should
Yeah.
just, okay, make comments to Simon because of this open law meeting. thing.
Regarding Reed sign, we send feedback to you.
I think that's probably either directly to me or to Reed,
Okay.
you know, 2 people on
Oh,
an
sure.
email is fine. 3 people on emails, other than organising the meeting, is not fine, and we got some clarifying guidance the other day that we're not even supposed to be editing documents together on the
Oh,
joint emails.
that's interesting.
So we should probably stick to emailing back and forth.
Then we can just come back May
I'm
11th.
just gonna go hide the woods.
Yes, I know, it's kind of crazy, but, okay, well, I think that's a good, I think we're in a good spot. Simon will send out the signage for us to all look at and give our individual thoughts.
Yeah.
To Simon and Reed, that'll be okay.
Yeah.
Then May 11th, we can decide whether, whether that's what we wanted, and then we can tweak them. And there's no timeline on when these go off. Okay, great. Any more discussion on the signs? Okay, okay, next thing was just updates, is that right, on nature signs? Updates on volunteer projects. So Nest Watch boxes for the bluebirds and the tree swallows and the wrens and things. We're starting up again. I've got 3 or 4 people signed up for boxes. We're gonna get 6 more boxes, which are gonna go, I think, in the upper field, like sort of where I want to try to get the boxes away from the woods, because what's happening is we're just getting wrens. Wrens are getting in there and the bluebirds can't compete with them. So I was thinking of, and I guess we should check with Harold, because he was gonna, dig up some of those rock outcropping things. I was thinking of putting them in the middle of the field, because that's what bobolinks like. They don't like to be near the woods. So we have 6 boxes. I'll do that over the next, week or 2. But yeah, it went well last year. Gosh, I can't remember the numbers. 88 baby bluebirds fledged from 30 to 36 boxes. So
There are 36 boxes at Catamount.
36, yeah. Yep. So, and some
My wife
Some
and I
don't.
went through for 2 years.
I know, right? And a lot of them didn't get used. I mean, a lot of them are still brand new for some reason. The birds just don't use them, but they're getting more every year, I think they do.
The swallows are moving in now.
The swallows.
Yeah.
So, but we have bluebirds. I was just there. I saw the
Yes.
mallard, and then the bluebirds are there, and Jim and Lucy saw.
Terry, just a thought, our happy mower who mows our fields, you were mentioning maybe putting something in the middle of the field, I just thought.
No, in the
Okay.
rock outcroppings,
Oh, I
so
see.
not anywhere
Oh,
where
so our
anybody
mower
would
will be
be.
happy, because I know last year you went through some. We told the mower, oh, the bobolinks are gone, you can come back and mow.
Oh.
Remember this? And he's like, I was just there 3 days ago.
Harold,
Harold.
the
there it is.
farmer,
Yeah,
yes,
who
yeah,
mows
right.
grass.
That was, so
I just
that,
didn't wanna be having things,
No.
cause we have to
Right.
remove all the signs out of the field.
yes,
If
So
there
now-
was something else in the field that would get in his way,
right. Well,
not to
that's
get Harold mad.
Harold, Matt, so that's another topic, but we
Yeah,
can just
okay.
touch on it, is that it happened last year, there's a new agreement for the haying, and so now the haying can only happen in the bobolink field after August. I was just gonna say 15th, is that correct? He can't, there's no longer May, he won't be able to mow in May anymore.
I don't think we changed the agreement, but I think we may have said, is there any point in doing it in May? From what I remember, because I don't think he gets any value out of it. And I don't think it was particularly helpful for the bobolinks either.
Right, it
is what I
was,
understood.
Is
Yeah.
that for both fields?
no,
Or
just
the
that
part of
one.
Because the bobolinks did nest in the first. field.
I know,
Yeah.
there's just no way to, we can't get them to go over there, but there was a nest failure last year for the bobolinks. And there was a couple of maybe reasons. One was River View or Valley or whatever farm mowed right when they were nesting. So all the bobolinks from that field came over to Catamount and disrupted everybody, but what happened was the field didn't get mowed for about a year and a half. Because Harold mowed May 1 year. And then didn't do a cut in that August, because he couldn't get in there. And then he didn't do a mowing in May the next year because it wasn't good weather. So that bought it even further. So things grew up. There was a lot of thatch, so that was problematic. So that's why we're trying to move it so he has to mow it once a year after August. And that way that'll eliminate, any problems. So.
That sounds good.
And so hopefully, going into that, hopefully Carl and Bruce and Bill was another guy that was from the birding community. They'll do the monitoring again. And hopefully Harold did mow this fall, so it should be in good shape. I was gonna try to get up there and do some apple pruning with this, the Friends of Catamount Community Forest. And just there's one apple tree up near on Goose Hill, near the chair, what do you guys got, chair lift? Yeah, there's a nice apple tree up there, so I was gonna, I might get to it, but it might be something for next year, to do. It's getting kind of late.
I was gonna say, you're about ready to blossom.
Yes,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
so, it just might just be go up and looking at it and just, talking with there's 15 folks that have signed up to be kind of friends of Catamount to do different projects. So
Is it out in the field a little bit?
it is.
I swear it didn't produce apples last year.
It didn't, the year before.
The year
it
before
was
was amazing.
intense. Yeah. Apple trees do that, yeah. they do.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know
Maybe
why.
pruning helps it, I don't know.
Yeah, a little
Not
bit, but
farming.
in a couple of years, it might, like this year, it might, if there's a late frost though, it could, maybe that's what happened, the blossoms got frozen,
Maybe.
so that's could have been.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's odd about that, so that was one, invasive control, that's ongoing, so that's, we got notice that Bob, this guy that has been doing all the invasive work, there's still money in a USDA.
So what I understand is that the 2021 winter forestry that was done with the cruncher, I can't remember what it's called.
Brontosaurus.
Brontosaurus, there's still money left in that for him to do invasive control in that area. And he's gonna come up at some point,
Cut
April,
stuff.
May,
Yeah.
and not do the invasive, but cut them back so that in September time or whenever he can come back and actually treat them.
With a
And he said he'd
foliar
let us know
spray.
when he was gonna do that.
So that'll happen at the same time. Velco's there. He'll be there doing foliar spray like in September, which is really the optimum time to be treating these invasives. So he'll cut stump and then that'll actually force it to sprout. And so in the fall, he can go through and do a foliar spray. That's not paid for. That'll come out of the budget, right? In the fall.
That's not, I thought that was paid for.
Oh, good. Okay,
Yeah.
that would be great. So, and then Laura will be doing her invasive program with the scouts. She's had really good luck, and one of the volunteers, friends, came and helped last year too. I think October 31st or November 1st, they got out there and did. And then Ethan actually went out last year. We bought a couple of gallons of
Oh, yeah, yeah.
herbicide, and he went out for a day and did barberry. So where the logging's gonna happen, there's barberry everywhere. So he was pointing it out when we remarked those trees, and he was saying, they shouldn't come back, so.
Good.
And then another invasive thing is that patch of poison parsnip over at the base of Goose Hill is just gonna be there. I mean, it's so thick. So,
Jim mowed it last year. didn't
Jim-
he?
Yeah, but that doesn't work.
No,
well, you gotta keep mowing it,
Right.
and then you gotta get the seeds, and it is.
The only way you can really do it is with one of those killer shovels.
Oh,
They
yeah,
take
you're right.
a shovel and they've cut, you can buy them, so instead of a rounded edge, right, so they take a square-ended shovel and cut it at an angle, so it still has butt, and you walk up to the parsnip in a full protective
Yeah.
outfit, and you drive it down into the ground at an angle, and you cut the root, and you do this before it goes to seed, before it flowers, and that will actually kill the plant
Oh,
by getting to about 6 inches below the soil. And there are some documented cases of people taking out thousands and thousands of parsnip in a day, doing that with groups of people. But you've got to wear hazmat suits when you're doing that.
and
you
a
know,
cloudy day.
And a
So
cloudy
it's
day,
Cloudy
yeah.
day, because
But
the sun is. what
These
is-
shovels are $65 a piece, you know,
Oh.
so I thought they had one at Gardner Supply, but it wasn't one, so you have to order them from a group that makes them, so.
And we have in that little closet there are reed wrenches. That's different, I guess, right?
Yeah.
It's a different tool.
So-
So we could, in the future, look, but, for now, Jim has been mowing it. If you guys could help out at Catamount, it's obvious where it is. If you can mow, I don't know what your arrangement is this year for mowing over there.
We have a contractor doing it.
Oh, so you still have the same guy?
I don't know,
same person,
it's the
yeah.
same guy.
Yeah.
We have a con-
So, Jim will do it, but he said if Catamount could help too, it would be good just to keep mowing that section.
Does,
I've done,
does fire work at all? Or is that not appropriate for this use?
I actually don't want to burn this stuff. It gives off the toxic, so what happens is
Yeah.
the sap in it, that's the deadly part.
Right.
Not deadly, but toxic, and if you burn it, it releases it into the atmosphere, and everybody anywhere near it will be covered, so.
get that in your lungs,
Yeah, so,
so that wouldn't be good.
so,
So I did go out, one other method, which probably doesn't make a big difference, but I went out in the late summer and just went out to the seed heads, and I mean, it was everywhere in there. It's all over. So I went out and got seed heads and put the seed heads in a garbage bag. And, try to, at least the seed doesn't fall to the ground.
that's why you have to get it early,
Yeah.
and you can't put the seed into compost, you have to put it in plastic bags and have it taken to the dump, so it actually gets landfilled.
Right.
Because it is so pervasive,
It's pretty bad. So,
Yeah.
but that's something, that's one other project we're working on. So, we just that is just, if anybody gets into that poison parsnip on a sunny day, any kids, or.
That's why we stopped doing some of the bird boxes over there, because
And
I
I-
grew up all the way around them, so.
And I moved them out. I moved the bird boxes out because I didn't know in March it looked great.
Yeah.
There was no poison parsnip. And then, so future projects, nature projects. Do folks have ideas of projects that you're interested in that you'd like to pursue there at Catamount?
So there's quite a lot on the agenda already.
Right,
say,
already,
yeah.
yeah. So I mean, just down here, but one thing I was thinking about was bat boxes. That a lot of people have been doing bat boxes, Heinsberg, Prags, and,
Do you have any bats in the barn?
yeah, Jim has bats in the belfry.
Yeah.
John, have you ever seen, there's bats in the house, I guess, I don't know if
In
any of
his
them.
house, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we can't, you're muted. There we go.
I haven't seen any yet. He's introduced me to a lot of the animals, but not all of them.
Okay. So anyway, so that's down the road, but I just wanted to get a sense of if anybody had, any ideas, so. Oh, and one other thing I thought about, because you're connected to the library, right? A story walk, I know you did one back when there was an event, but,
There's been there was one all year last year.
oh, there was, oh, good, okay. So I didn't realize that, because I think I never walk out that way, so. All right, good, so that's perfect.
What do you think the mama bluebirds were reading to the baby bluebirds?
That's
That's
right.
why they're so prolific.
They were so happy, yeah, right, they were well educated. Okay, so we're 6:25, where is that? We're doing pretty good, so, all right, so any more discussion about future projects or anything, or what's going on now? Okay, if not, gonna turn it over to John for updates on Catamount Outdoor Family Center.
All right. So we finished up winter strong with a busy March. As you know, we finally got some good snow late. And it made a big difference for membership and day use and rentals and programs and lessons. But the overall winter was pretty tough for us, with really no snow in December and big chunk of January. But we had a great year with our programs and events there. And we did our last snow school winter program a couple weeks ago. And we're about to open for summer uses tomorrow. So a very quick turnaround for us, and excited to move into the new season. We've been hiring our summer staff, and it's going to be somewhere around 30 people overall with all of our camp and hub folks. We've been working on our annual town maintenance plan and planning our projects for the summer. Those include hopefully the Three Rivers project with the town to work on the drainage and the bridges there. We're going to hopefully replace them with culverts, drying out balsams so that's more usable in the summer and not quite so icy in the winter. We are considering Skills Park area upgrades, refreshing drainage on Getting Started, Elbow, and Night, and then our full regular maintenance log, and then a couple other smaller things. We are hoping to use machinery on the drainage work. The ditches that need to be refreshed are extensive and would kill Andy to go out there with a hoe and try to do right. So we'll happy to talk further about what that entails if anybody has any questions. We're also working on Act 250 and other necessary permits for projects that need those. So if anybody has any questions about that, I'm happy to talk about that. And then we just promoted our summer education programming. We have Amanda doing tick talks, so talking about our tick stuff going on at the forest. She has 3 or 4 of those going on. We have 2 fungi forays and a mush roll that I'll be leading. So 2 walks and a bike ride to go out and learn more about fungi in the community forest. We have telescope building and stargazing. I believe we have 3 of those scheduled for the summer. And then we have a bird walk with the North Ranch Nature Center folks, and a forestry bike ride with Ethan during our spring launch party on May 13th. And he's going to be joining us with that. And then we also have naturalist staff training for our summer camp. So we're really trying to incorporate that into even the mountain bike camps. So that's where we are right now. Not everything, but that's a pretty good chunk.
Great.
Wow, sounds good. Great.
So,
My son's going to be one of your counselors in training. He got his first job. Like this summer, we're like, I don't know. My husband and I are, he doesn't know what he's got himself into. He's gonna be
yeah, how old is he?
13.
Oh,
He's
that's a
working
great
hard.
age.
He's gonna come home exhausted.
Yes.
Blisters.
Yeah.
2 of my granddaughters do that for camp, and now they're moving to full counselors. So
Yeah.
yes, it's a great thing to do.
Halfway
Yeah.
forward, yeah.
Yeah.
He
That
spent,
kind of
he spent
amount
his
No,
entire
absolutely.
earnings already on a mountain bike, mentally.
So we, last year, Simon, Hans and I went out. Hans ran and
Oh, gosh.
Simon and I rode, and we could barely keep up with Hans. But the bridges,
The
so,
bridge inventory, yeah.
yeah, the bridge inventory. So is that moving forward? Is that,
Yeah, well, we've been talking to John about it, and John's got some good ideas about it. So we're leaning on his experience
great?
to come up with I guess you'd call it a less maintenance option. Sounds good. It sounds like it's worked for him in a lot of places. So
And I heard you talk about replacing 2 bridges with culverts.
Yeah, we're hoping to use half culvert so that it's a natural surface underneath. and not a plastic surface, so that any flows are over stone and not over plastic. And then ditching and draining into those, and then silt catches at the exits of all the culverts, so that we're catching things and slowing it down, and we have a place to keep clean. So it's a style that A&R really has been pushing lately, and something that works really well. So it's and because they're not wooden bridges, the maintenance is much lower, and it's more friendly in all seasons too.
Great. And so do you anticipate having a piece of equipment there this summer to do some?
We're hoping to. Certainly, the Three Rivers project would require an excavator to be in there to do the ditches, and then but getting started Elbow and Knight also are really we're happy to go out and walk with you and kind of show you what we're talking about. But the ditching that is there has largely filled in and grown in, and so now instead of catching water and moving it, it really just seeps all the way through the trail, and it's starting to take material off the trail because there's actual flow now. So we're refreshing what's there and making it work.
Great. And you're going to open tomorrow, you think, or Friday or Saturday?
Yeah, we're gonna soft open tomorrow and not push too hard on the gas, and then Saturday we'll have a big announcement, and it's not everything. Largely the middle section, as usual, is pretty wet, but the Sandman's area is pretty dry, and we're not letting folks out hopefully on the single track yet. So it would be mainly the Sandman's loop, and then the trails on the upper south side we're going to open too. So and the south facing north side. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay.
And then Goose Hill side too, because which drains really well and dries out fast. So that whole side can go.
Yeah, that's the geology part, right?
Jim told me the geology of that up there, and that he had it tested for a septic, and they told him he could have a small village up there. It works so well.
It could work so well.
We're lucky that he doesn't have a small village up there.
That's right. Lucky for all of us. Great. Well, that sounds really good. So any questions for John? Good. Let's see, so other business, I just, one thing that Ethan had sent me was, there's a program that's happening for Emerald Ash Borer and monies funding to treat iconic, I keep saying iconic trees that are, and it doesn't have to be just ash trees, it's just, trees that are species that are endangered. And so there's a program, and they were picking individual trees that really stood out in a community. But then they had a little, language in there that it could also be a small grove of trees to be treated. So we're up next year, I think, to treat again for the 11 ash trees. We treated 11 ash trees out on what trail? Geronimo?
Yeah,
Is it?
I think that's where it is.
Night.
Knights, okay, Knights Loop, yeah. And they're scattered out about, so.
And
so
they have
that would be-
purple, like a purple ribbon on them.
Yeah, some of them do have purple ribbons, yeah. So that'll be in the works. We're gonna work with, Laura and Chapin will be able to treat the Emerald Ash Borer ash tree.
Yeah, Laura watched Ethan do it
Right,
last time, didn't she? So
Yeah,
hopefully she
we
knows
were
how
all
to
there.
do it. Yeah.
and right, she could teach Chapin probably, so. Okay, so, yeah, that was the other,
See,
any other,
I think
Rita,
Danielle
okay.
maybe has some other business by the looks
Oh,
of
to
things.
have another business, make sure that you've contacted and shared your opinion for the Williston Community Spaces Survey. So there is a committee that's formed to do scoping and feasibility on the needs of the town residents' feeling of their thoughts on a need for a community center and a library growth and development. So the library is small, everyone in the community talks about needing a center. This is a time to share your opinions and help them form their like next survey. So they're get an interview to have a survey. But I think that it's only up until next week, right?
I
And
think
then we're moving to
Friday
next
might be the
week.
deadline.
Tomorrow.
No,
No,
sorry, a week before
21st.
Friday, so 21st,
21, 22?
yeah.
21, and then, so you can go to the website, willistoncommunity.com, and sign up for an interview. I think the interviews can be in person or on the phone.
I was
It's like 6
interviewed
questions.
by
Oh,
John
okay.
Butterfield.
Yeah.
Interviewed me.
So this project has nothing to do with the Allenbrook project that I went to an event,
Right, yeah,
totally separate. That's more
that's
recreational, like outdoor rec.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that is.
Great.
So the kind of the thrust I'm looking at on the town website, it's sort of a library / community center. Because I was gonna say, everybody vote for a building up at the CCF.
There's
I
what the
think
community
that
center
comes,
could
that
be.
comes later. As I understand
Location
it, this
is
is,
not part
yeah.
of this discussion.
this is like, what about you want to see, what would be good to have?
On that property.
Like,
Oh,
or a
no.
community centre and a library, wherever it may be.
There's no location
Yeah.
discussed.
Right.
But the assumption is the library would be part of it.
They would
No,
go-
there's an option for the library and a community center,
Oh, I
two
see.
different
Okay.
separate buildings. One or another one would be like, the community center has a library branch. Or,
Or we
Yeah.
just keep the library and extend it, or we get rid of that library and move it in with a much bigger community centre. I think this is about like figuring out what the town wants from those two facilities.
right,
And then I think once they know, they can figure out how much space that equals. Figure out what size building it needs and what size land it needs. Maybe they're not be too expensive and they have to downsize, or maybe they can do it. And then I think at that point, they'll start looking for a location. But I think this is to inform them about what, what the community wants to see in this building.
The needs.
Yeah.
or two buildings.
Or two buildings.
Or two.
Do you go to Milton and go to where their town offices are? That's what they did. They built from the ground up their town offices, their library, the community center. It's all like one big series of buildings.
South Burlington has a nice one too.
So you already did it. I don't know if either one of you need to.
Yeah.
You did. You've got the website, you're all set up.
Actually take a picture of it.
Yeah.
And also, it's Green Up Day on May the 6th. So last year, the town had a fair on the village green just across the road to give out green up bags. We had town boards and departments, the Rotary came along, the Observer, the American Red Cross were there. I think there's going to be a bit more this year, so there'll be a place to come and get green up bags. And there'll be various things going on. The Conservation Commission is going to be promoting No Mo May and Raise the Blade, along with the Energy Committee, of course, and Sustainable Williston. I think Emily might have reached out to the Outdoor Family Centre, see whether you guys want to come down for an hour or so. It's open to like community partners. The idea is that people have activities, or you just want to promote yourself or anything like that. That's available.
John, did you hear about that or get invited? I didn't, I got it as
You're
a,
muted.
I thought I got it as a CCF committee member, but
Oh, right, okay.
I'm coaching lacrosse for Williston Rec team
How are you?
that morning, so I can't be there, but I don't know, if John or anybody.
Yeah, the email has a link to a Google form
Yeah.
to put down whether your committee wants to join and who wants to volunteer, and so it will update right through the form.
Yeah.
Because we did that last night with the Energy Committee.
Okay.
So John, did you catch that? There's a festival, what's it called?
It's a town fair from 8 AM to midday or noon.
On the 6th of May,
Yeah,
right?
Saturday, the 6th of May, same day as Green Up Day. got quite a few people came along last year, so hopefully we'll get even more people this year. The Rotary came along last year, as did the Observer and the American Red Cross. So I think they're just broadening it out to more community partners. I think the Ishams gave us some raffle prizes last year.
Yeah, my wife had something going on, I
Yeah.
think for the community theater.
Yeah. For the tickets to that. So if the Outdoor Family Centre wants to come down, that'd be great.
Thank you for the invite. I have to look at our schedule. We have a lot of super busy weekends already.
Yeah.
But it does sound like fun and a good spot for us to engage with the community. So, if we have somebody who's not already doing something else, we'll be there.
Yeah, great.
Great. Okay, so that is green up. So does anybody have any other comments or new business or topics? No? So if nothing else?
Uh,
Make a-
Next meeting is on May the 11th.
make-
Because everyone wasn't here when we talked about it, and Hans mentioned it. Last meeting, we talked about the logger for the forestry project, who unfortunately has a staffing crisis, so can't do it. So Ethan's just found 2 more potentials. So we were going to discuss those 2 in the next meeting. So two options. I haven't really looked into them in detail, but I think each one has their own pros. I don't think either of them has any cons, but we can talk about it and figure out who's best. Okay. Our next meeting, if the weather's good, we'll have it at Catamount as well, at the harbour.
That'd be nice.
Right.
Never know, May's kind of a, you know, this is not gonna last. This
We should have met there
80
today.
degrees. We know. What's that?
Should have met there today.
I know, yeah, boy.
It's still a little soggy.
Yeah. True. So, okay, so if that's it, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all right, so can adjourn the meeting at 6:43.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks, John.
See you, John.
Have a good one. Enjoy.